Well, it's freezing cold, it's December, there's just 1 week until Christmas, and as you can see, there's just been a recent downpour of snow. But that's okay, I'm here at the North Norfolk Railway, specifically at Holt Station. And I'm going to head inside the William Marriott Museum to meet up with Phil Parker and see if we can find anything interesting inside. So let's check it out. Hello.
Hi, Howard.
Hello. You must be Dave.
Hi.
Right, Phil.
Dave's just showing us one of the artefacts in here. I mean, we've got a room full of fantastic objects, but
isn't it?
Quite frankly, this is this is one of the most exciting ones in here, and it's just running through exactly what it is and why it's so important to the railway.
Yeah, it's called Golden Spike for obvious reasons. They used to be hammered in to hold flat bottom rail in place. There's some examples of flat bottom rail around the museum. It was hammered in 3rd of April 1883, possibly by William Marriott, who was running the railway at the time, to be the final link in the line between, on the map here, Yarmouth and Lynn. And from Lynn, of course, you've got access to the rest of the world without having to go through London.
How come the gold didn't come off then?
That's a good question. It was hammered in as a normal spike, normal steel spike. It was taken out later on, engraved and gold plated, and then presented by William Marriott to the railway contractors who built the line. That's Wilkinson and Jarvis.
So somewhere around here,
it was hammered in at Tottington Bridge, just there near Aylsham, 3rd of April 1883, and much celebration presumably in the pubs at North Walsham afterwards.
Well, while somebody nipped out, hoiked the spike out, which actually has been quite a job to do, getting a spike out like that.
Not really.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of track tools that are really weird looking objects. You can do all sorts of things. We've got displays of those here as well. That was with Wilkinson and Jarvis. It stayed with the families, we believe, and then 50 years ago it went into private hands. And then it came up for auction a couple of years ago, and it's one of the items that we really had to have.
A terrifyingly bit of bill, I imagine.
Yeah. We don't often step into the market for railway memorabilia, but that really has to be here. We think the box is original.
A nice piece, there you go, gold-plated railway spike. Now, this is quite interesting.
Ah, tool chest. Yeah, if you were...
With pre-snap-on and Mac tools.
Yep.
Tools like these you would have. This is, I'm guessing, is a carpenter's.
If you go to Weybourne into the carriage and wagon department, lots of people down there have got quite a lot of woodworking tools, because coaches obviously are wooden bodied, our current set of vintage coaches, and you need a fair amount of tools to do the work.
So, nice bit of artwork here, Dave. Tell us about it.
Well, it's another railway poster. We have quite a few in the collection, and it's round about the 1930s, and it shows the railways, but gives you a good idea of what's where on the map. So we're up at Holt. There, you've got it. Yeah, and our line runs down to Sheringham.
Which is just up here.
So that's about 5¼ miles.
You can really see where we are, right on the edge here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very interesting view. I mean, I wonder how high up we are looking at from this view.
Oh, goodness knows, 3 or 4 miles, I should think. Somewhere over the Suffolk border. It's quite an interesting view. I don't think I've seen it much in the past.
The William Marriott Museum at Holt Station is ram-packed with artefacts, each with its own story and part it played in the line's heritage. And much as we found it interesting, time was running out. So Phil and I dashed next door, which is home to the North Norfolk Model Engineering Club, to meet up with Gordon Ford and see what it was all about. So on site at the Holt end of the station, you can see we've got a track which is, I believe, 3.5 and 5.5 inch gauge, Gordon?
5-inch gauge, yes.
Okay, tell us about your club.
This is the North Norfolk Model Engineering Club. We have about 40 to 50 members, and we operate our miniature track here at Holt 2, sometimes 3 days a week, mainly in the summer or Easter through to October. And we have fun running trains for the general public. It's an output for our model engineering exercises, so we're quite happy doing that.
So what Gordon hasn't told you is that we wouldn't ordinarily be operating on a non-public day. He very generously put together this short consist for us, so shall we take it for a spin?
Yes, if you're happy.
Okay, thank you. I guess the controls are fairly straightforward. Haven't got a clue, but what could possibly go wrong? Hang on, what's this?
You got a tune out of
There
it
we
too.
are. The North Norfolk Model Engineering Club's track is around 1,000 foot in length, and yes, this is a battery electric locomotive, but their members also operate steam locomotives too, and on a day like this when it's absolutely freezing, I don't blame them for staying inside with a cup of tea. If you like model engineering, check out our sister title, Engineering in Miniature. You'll find all the details on our website, worldofrailways.co.uk. And it's as easy as that. I don't think we created too much damage, did we?
No, you didn't. Well done, Howard.
Thank you. Well, great little railway, and I believe you've plans to move and...
Well, we've plans to adjust, perhaps extend as the railway decides what it's doing with the turntable. Perhaps we'll have our loop go around the turntable.
For anybody wanting to check out more about these chaps, check them out on Facebook.
While we were at Holt, we couldn't resist coming in and having a look at the model railway that's under construction. And Gordon, you've been roped into this project as well.
Yes, the North Norfolk Railway's suburban coach appeal has this model railway, and the modelling had stalled and it had been left a little untidy, and the model engineers were quite happy to get involved and finish off as much as they can. We're nearly there. Perhaps this season things should be finished.
Excellent. Now it's actually a fundraising job as well, isn't it? And the coach it's in is really appropriate?
Yes, suburban coach appeal, Mark I style coach, and the coaches are going to be redeveloped with the carriage and wagon department, and these coaches will be online and are used by the railway when they have a suburban set out. So we've got suburban set from a Victorian era, and this set will be 1950s era.
So essentially when you come to visit the real railway, come and have a look at the model railway and help to fundraise for the very sort of coaches that will be coming out of King's Cross.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
In the current issue of BRM, you'll see Phil Parker build a model railway carriage cottage, and it's loosely based on this one at the top end of Holt Station. Now these make great subjects for modelling, and you can easily buy a second-hand coach on the cheap to make one. So let's take a look around.
I'm here with Daisy. We're in a nice warm cottage, but a warm cottage that's rather different from most cottages you're ever likely to have been in. Daisy, could you explain exactly what's special about this place?
Oh, what's special about this place? Well, originally this place was a railway carriage, a Great Eastern Railway carriage. It was actually built in 1899, and like many railway carriages, once they had been decommissioned, they were purchased and became residential dwellings.
And this one's got an extension on the side. We're actually standing in the extension at the moment.
Yes.
And it's a really nice place to be. I've seen pictures of these things. I've never seen a real one. They've all tended to be rescued by preserved railway companies. This is on a preserved railway, but it's still a cottage.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, very, very important to actually preserve this part of our history, because as you say, it doesn't exist anymore.
How many people would have lived here?
It depended how productive the family were, I think. I mean, for the purpose of this museum, we have a mother and a father, we have 2 older children and a baby, but it would be perfectly possible to have far more children than that. Children were topped, were tailed, were placed on bunks. All sorts of creative storage, shall we say, for children was invented.
We're standing in what I assume this is obviously the family living area, because we've got
it is what we call the living room, because everything happens in the living room. Yeah.
Literally everything happens, because at one end we have the kitchen.
Absolutely.
The door we have a pantry.
Yes.
Interestingly, with hares or rabbits.
Rabbits. You wouldn't catch hares. Rabbits.
Right,
yeah.
okay, rabbits its hung, but
you have,
that's
your main source of heating and your source of cooking.
Yes, is the hearth in the corner. We've got the sewing machine and the radio. It really, yeah, I suspect this is one of those areas that feels really quite nice on a hot day. When the heating, when the fire's not made up, it's going to be bitter.
Yeah, in the winter when the fire's not made up, yeah, but it's very cosy. You know, it is a very cosy room.
And then, as we go through the door now, we've got 2 bedrooms.
Yep.
Parents' bedroom one end and the children's bedroom at the other.
Absolutely.
Those presumably have been recreated as they would have been when the family were living here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suspect that our creation is slightly on the wealthy rather than the poorer, but it is a facsimile. You know, it is a facsimile of the way people would have lived in the 30s, in the 40s, and it gives people an absolutely fabulous just window into that way of life.
It's amazing, and I mean, I'm looking through and I'm seeing how much of the original carriage still exists.
Even a genuine 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, okay. It's amazing how much of the original carriage still exists. This must be a conservation challenge as well.
Absolutely. I mean, in lots of different ways. Obviously, it's a challenge because you still have to adhere by modern day compliances and requirements because members of the public are going to be in here. But from a conservation point of view, yes, you want to get it as right as you can. You want it to look as right, but you actually want it to be as right. You get your environmental geek head on, and you want it to be right.
Some of the stuff around here, certainly people recognise. I'm sure a lot of our readers will recognise the Meccano in the bedroom, which is the right Meccano because it's the really early stuff for nerdy Meccano spotters, that sort of thing. How would the public actually come in here? Is it open every day? Or?
It's not open every day. Obviously, it's based on the North Norfolk Railway. Season when the trains are running, we try and keep the museum open at the weekends. We try and keep it open as much as we can through the summer holiday, but it is run by volunteers. It's manned, it's stewarded by volunteer staff. So, you know, we have it open as much as we can, and we would love people to come and see it because it's amazing.
Thank you. Well, that's excellent. I mean, certainly it is incredible to come and have a look around. I've been on a lot of preserve railways. I've never been anywhere anything like this. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
So we were chatting away with Alex Richardson, PR manager at the railway, and he said, have you guys been to see the model railway in the passenger luggage van on Weybourne Station? It's run by some younger volunteers and David Palmer from Train Tech, so we thought we'd stop by and check it out.
We've moved to Weybourne Station and Howard and I have found another model railway to come and visit, which is great fun. And we're here with Jamie, who's part of the team who are looking after it. How long's this been here? We've got a bit of a history behind this layout, I believe.
Well, the layout, the coach that the wagon we're actually in was restored in 1997, and the layout was put in 1999.
But the layout wasn't. You were telling us the layout wasn't built specifically for this location.
No, it was originally a display layout that had been in the circuit, and it was originally based on Swanage and was put in the wagon.
So, who looks after it now then?
David Palmer is the main head of the model railway.
It's David Palmer from Train Tech, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And but you've got quite a team here going on. I mean, David's not hidden under the baseboard, so you guys are obviously doing a lot of the work. How many people are involved?
Well, we've got about 30 people all together, and we're all different. We've got the junior club who come in and run it on their days, and then we've got people, older enthusiasts who come in here and also run it during the summer.
Okay, and who's working on the layout? Because the layout itself, I understand, is undergoing a bit of a refurbishment at the moment.
Yeah. So we're going to have a team in January that are all going to, most of the volunteers are going to come down, and we're going to put new pieces into the model railway and just make it more detailed and just give it a revamp, add a new automatic line and just make it more interesting. So when people can't run their own engines on the model railway, people can actually see more things moving on the layout.
Now, I believe, looking at some of the locomotives, they've got a bit of a local interest.
Yeah, so the locos that we've got here today and coaching stock are all either based at the railway or have visited from other railways or have an East Anglian connection to the area.
Are these actually owned by the members of the group? Or?
Yes, yes. We come down on certain days during the year, and we all bring our own engines, and it's all shared between the group.
Fantastic. Now, once the layout's refurbished, of course, people are going to want to come and see it. When can they come down? Is it open all the time, or is it just specific operating days?
Yeah, well, it's open all the time. So every day the railway's open, the model railway's open, but that's just for the automatic lines. But then Sundays we'll come, operators and volunteers will come in, like when the junior clubs, on the junior club day, will come down and they'll run the model railway.
So people can come down on any of the main operating days, and the layout will be operating and visible with you guys behind it then, presumably?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Excellent, something to look forward to. Thanks very much.
So with our tour of the model railways complete, it was time to move on to some of the bigger stuff. Unfortunately, Phil had to shoot. As speaking with Alex earlier, he said if they wanted, they could put on a locomotive just for us. And when I asked if we could have Black Prince, its BR Standard Class 9F, he said unfortunately it was having a boiler wash, but he could have its 1943 built WD 210-0. And more importantly, free reign on the line. Wherever you want it, he said, we'll make it happen. We'd also get a chance to try some footplate cooking. Let's see how that goes. Armed with bread, fresh Norfolk bacon and a cup of oil, I set to, and actually, you know what, for the first time cooking on the footplate, we did a pretty decent job. I think that's just about done, so let's get some bread. Should be okay there, there we are. Okay, right, well cheers folks. Very good, I like it. Norfolk bacon cooked on a WD. Our stomachs full, we departed, empty stock in tow, and this thing ran really well, partly helped by its fireman, who started his career back in the day at Wilston Depot. This guy had more energy than a can of beans for his age, and he told me, if you're this fit at 73, you'll be doing alright. I couldn't agree with him more. So that's the beauty of a skilled fireman. You can see here the boiler pressure is pretty much exactly the same as when we left. The safety valves haven't even hissed one slight bit. And well, as for the driving, perfect. They know the line like the back of their hand. Suddenly the heavens opened with a passing shower, so we headed inside to Sheringham West Signal Box to catch up with Adrian Vaughan. So I'm in the box with Adrian, signalman, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved in signalling.
Well, I started as a little boy. I was always fascinated, always, from a small boy. Reading Station, 1946, 47.
Okay.
It's all I ever did was the railway.
I think you said earlier on that you were only a small boy at the time when you were invited up into the box
Yeah.
by the signalman.
The little tiny signal box called Woodley Bridge.
Right.
Had 8 levers on 4 tracks. And as they said, there's 150 trains past. So I've counted them up in more recent years. I've got a 1950 timetable and counted them. There's 150 trains in 8 hours past there. And what I picked up was the routine of signalling.
Right.
I mean, this is single line. This is a completely different system. But I picked up the routine. And then when we moved out into the countryside, out the west end of Berkshire, I started volunteering, and I've only realised that a couple of years ago, that I was volunteering on the village station. I was down there 7 o'clock one morning, summer days, school holidays, parcels train arrives, and an old porter, they always seemed old to me, I was 12, and he goes to the parcel van, and him and the guard start to unload big boxes of cakes, Lions cakes for the village shop. And I was sitting on a 4-wheel barrow, and I went across and said, "Can I give you a hand, mister?" "Oh, thank you very much, sonny, come on." And that was me and Harry Strong. So that was me. And I realised now that I had 3 years volunteering on that station. I used to do anything to help. And they were just so friendly. They were just so helpful. And down in the yard, we had sidings, and there were wagons on the sidings. And Harry Strong, he must have been 55. I don't know, he started in 1921, and we're now in 1953.
Right.
And
quite a bit of experience then.
yeah, he would have to sheet up a wagon load of hay, and he's got a great big railway tarpaulin, and they must have weighed 100 weight. So if he had a young lad coming up the ladder behind him, helping to bump them,
push it up.
you know, and nobody ever said, "No, go away, there's nothing to do with you." They always said, "Yeah, come on, give us a hand." So that got me into the big signal box. There were 63 levers in there. And Bill Mattingly was the signal I visited most. And after 2 or 3 evenings, he said to me, he'd been a sergeant major during the Second World War, and he spoke like a sergeant major. "Do you intend to come up here often?" And I said, I'm asking you a question like this, you see. And I said, "Well, yes, Bill, I'd like to." And he said, in that case, he said, "You read this." And he goes to the desk and he gets out the book. It was a signalling regulation. And he said, "You're coming up here, you read that."
All right. So that was
So I took it home and started reading it. Of course I did. And I was amazed to discover that the way that the chaps behaved in the signal boxes, and indeed on the engines, was actually all written down. And I just absorbed that.
Yeah. So that's what got you into signalling, and you've never looked back. And I think what you were mentioning earlier on about the friendly atmosphere that got you involved into the signalling aspect on railways is much what can be found here at the North Norfolk Railway. Everybody is very friendly. So
absolutely, if
ever you visit, be sure to check out Sheringham West Signal Box and say hello to Adrian on your way past. If you'd like to see more stories from Adrian and his photographs, take a look at his website at adrianvaughan.co.uk. So, we're now in the cab of a Metrocam DMU, and I'm joined by Roger. You've been on the line for quite some time, I believe, driving diesels. Tell us a little bit about it.
I passed for driving steam in '85, but I've been involved with the railway since 1971. Well, basically there are 3 controls. This one here, which is the throttle, which incorporates a dead man's handle, which has to be depressed all the time, otherwise the brake gets done. Right. Forward reverse selector and gear selector. Well, it's a semi-automatic system with an epicyclic gearbox, and as you change gear you slack the revs off, wait for them to subside, select the next gear, wait a little bit longer, and then apply the revs, and the gear is selected automatically.
Well, thank you very much, Roger, for the lift, and have a safe trip back. Unfortunately, guys, that's all we've got time for on this episode of BRM TV. We've had a great day here at the North Norfolk Railway, and be sure to check out the extras menu where we get a special guided tour of the carriage and wagon workshops. Anyway, from all of us here at BRM TV, until next episode, take care and happy modelling. Next month we visit the Festiniog Railway to see some of the winter work, including its track relaying, carriage restoration and a guided tour of the workshops. Well done, you found the extras menu of this issue of BRM. Well, inside you'll take a look at the carriage restorations going on, and of course no heritage railway is complete without coaches, and these coaches need to be maintained. So I'm here with Nigel. Nigel, pleased to meet you. And Nigel is one of the many volunteers on the railway here who maintain coaches but also restore those that have never seen the light of day on this called heritage line. So behind me
is a Great Eastern brake third, built 1899.
Okay.
It worked from Liverpool Street to Enfield Suburban Services. It was drawn 1927. Became a bungalow at Madishall near Dereham.
Oh right, okay.
The guy who made it as a bungalow had a big chimney breast this end and a chimney breast halfway down. It was on 18-inch brick piers that kept the underframe nice and airflow through it.
Yeah.
Had a lean-to both sides, that's why it's in such amazing nick for 117 years old.
So let's just take a look at this work that's going on here. So talk us through the different stages of restoration. What was the coach like when you got it?
Full of wallpaper, obviously, as a bungalow. So first 6 months was basically stripping out all the non-bits. The two walls here have been replaced.
Okay.
But all the verticals are original Great Eastern wood from other coach bodies we've taken apart over the years. And as you can see, there's framework repairs going on.
Yeah, so there's a lot of filling and sanding required.
Yeah.
Tell us through the main construction of the coach itself. I'm guessing it's hardwood, no ply in those days.
No ply,
so,
all hardwood,
oak,
mahogany, probably the panels are mahogany. The actual door panels and the centre panels are zinc plate, which must have been a new thing in 1899, and the Great Eastern decided to use it.
That's good, so no corrosion now. So I'm guessing, how many months away are you from restoration completing this?
Possibly a year, 18 months.
Okay,
we've been working on it 2 years so far, and just over 6 months ago we took the underframe off the coach to work on the underframe. And this is where we are so far. I'd never like to put a deadline on it.
No, you want to complete it to the best of your ability, and as soon as you start making deadlines, then you might not achieve them. So I'm guessing it's going to be maroon when complete,
maroon,
to match the rake that you've got on the railway.
Originally it was probably varnished mahogany. After the First World War, Great Eastern repainted their stuff into crimson. So from 1919 to 1923, just to give a spruce up to make everyone happy about the First World War being ended.
Okay. Let's take a look now at the chassis that this is going to fit on. So this is the chassis, Nigel. Talk us through the process of turning it from something you found in a field to something you can actually run on the railway.
First few months was actually scraping down the rust, treating it and painting it into the state you see here. We had it on 2 stands and we've attached all the bits that hold springs, W-irons, and finally re-wheeled it.
So these are donors, these have come from a separate vehicle, I'm guessing?
They've come from a Southern Railway PMV.
Okay, yeah.
1935 vintage.
Yeah.
And the handbrake is from a Mark 1 brake coach, and we've modified the braking system to the chassis.
So you're pretty lucky, really, that it survived so well.
We are very lucky. When we first got the coach way back in 2002, we did buy another wagon underframe, but when we got this in 2 years ago, this was such remarkable condition we decided to carry on with this.
Hog. Well, it's a brilliant bit of work. Yeah, best of luck to seeing the completed project.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing it back on the rails very soon.
Yeah.